This is Derek from Future Vision and Growth Network, and this is for anyone who does any events ever. But I really want you to think of the ABC. Why? Because I've got a little bit of a story to tell you. And if you have ever done any events anywhere at any point, you will understand what I'm about to say. And that is ABCs are very, very important. If you are looking at your events and going, your vendors are not making as much money as they used to. Your attendance has gone down. There's not as many people that are commenting on your events or going to your events, or you're not making as much money on your events. This video is very, very important for you. So I want to make sure and give you a little bit of my background to tell you why it's important to me, and also then why it's going to be important to you. And then I'll give you the ABCs so you know what to do about it. Because we always have to have a solution. We can't just have a problem. We need to have a solution that goes with it. So let's start with my story. And that is, I used to be very much into the wine industry. One of the things that I did was I did wine tours, and I built my own. The very first couple wine tours that I did, they were amazing. They were charter buses, completely full of people. So what we did is we did a chocolate tour, we did cheese, and then we did wineries, and we drove people around and had them have this full day experience. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun. I connected with a lot of wineries. I connected with a lot of cheese people, a lot of chocolate people, like Bedrock Chocolates and other places, and it was just amazing. And I thought, this is fantastic. What a great business model. I think I will start to do this. And so we did it, and we did it for a while, and it was doing really, really good. Everybody really enjoyed it. They had a great time. They would tell people they had, it was fun. But we kept doing it. And the model worked so good that I thought, well, I could just keep doing it this way because it works this way. And so we kept going, and we kept doing the same thing. And guess what? My numbers got smaller. All of a sudden, I didn't need a charter bus anymore. Then I needed a van. Well, then I didn't need a van anymore. Then I needed a small. So each time I kept repeating the same model over and over again. Guess what? It didn't get bigger. It got smaller. And people were still having a good time, but it wasn't as exciting as it was at the beginning. Secondly, did wine and paint. Now, this is when wine and paint was like a big deal. Like it was a whole thing. And so again, we partnered with a winery. We started out, there were huge groups. There were big groups that came out. They had a great time. We had a lot of fun, and we did it, and we did it over and over again. And at first, it's really busy. There's a lot of people coming out, and it slowly gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's just because they've done it. So now they're like, wait a minute. We've already done that, so we're trying something else. There was a legend. I call it a legend. It wasn't a legend. There was a winery I was working with. When they first opened, they had a wine festival. And the wine festival that they had was massive. We're talking like probably 10,000 people or more came out to it, 15,000 maybe. And so it became like the benchmark for the people that work there as to what the wine festival should look like. Now, we had to take some things into some consideration at that point. And that was when that wine festival took place, it was one of 4 wineries in the state, maybe 5. So it was a very novel thing in the state of Oklahoma to have that happen. So when we look at it subsequently in the different wine festivals, well, now there's wine festivals all the time. There's wine festivals in different spaces. A winery has a festival several times a year. And so it is not as unusual. So your expectations of what needs to happen need to be more in line with the competition that you're looking at, which is true in my industry, your industry, and everybody else's industry. So we're always looking at that. So you're like, what are your ABCs, man? You're just stringing me along. So here's my thought. ABC stands for always be changing. The biggest nightmare and scary thing that you can have in your head is one phrase, but it's tradition. Because I will tell you in a very real way, traditions die. I would love for tradition to always be the same, for us to always have the same way, have the same reaction, same audience. Everybody's going to go back to do the same thing over and over and over. But that's just not the reality. So you need to always be changing your event. Whether it is you keep a core thing that is the same, but you have something new. You have somebody new. You have added something different. You have created a different way of presenting the materials. Whatever it is, you always have to be innovating and creating, because guess what? The competition for new is absolutely exponential. So if somebody wants to watch something new, it's real easy. They can look anywhere and go find something different. So if you are doing the same thing over and over again, in the same spaces over and over again, and you're not different than you were the year before that and the year before that, tradition no longer matters. At that point, you need to do something different. You need to add something to it. And you're all going to be thinking the same thing right now. You're going to remember an event. And the event that you're going to think about, you're going to be like, but they've been doing that for 40 years. And they probably have. But I bet if you go back and look at the beginning of that event to what that event has become, they have added things every year, or they have changed things every year to make it better, to create more of an experience, to maybe add a VIP either night or a VIP area, or they've created, a new way of presenting it. So maybe they have selfie stuff around where people can take selfies and get on TikTok. Or maybe they've created a film studio where they can do film. Or maybe, so all these things are changing because we are changing. So this idea of change is super, super important in what we're trying to get done. So this is one of the best things that I can tell you. If you're having any events ever, you've got to make sure that you're changing them, you're innovating, you're adding to, you're creating, and there's different ways that you can do that. This is why event planners should get paid way more than what they currently get paid, because their job is to make your event innovative, creative, and up to date. If it's not innovative, creative, and up to date, people are not going. And so there's that. Then you have the marketing piece that goes with it. Now, the marketing can be something overt, which is, I'm going to put a newspaper ad. I'm going to do a local ad on a billboard or something like that. Or more covert, which is, you're going to have an underground thing. You're going to send it viral. You're going to try to do a YouTube video. You're going to do something. We're just slip it in. Or it's going to be exclusive. The exclusivity part of it can work. If it's like, okay, you make sure that it's an exclusive event, members only, and that you're asking for people to come into it. So again, look at different ways that your event has worked and what it does well, but also what it's not doing well. And that is a hard assessment to do, because you're not going to want to say, my event that we've been doing for 50 years is not doing as well as it used to, because maybe you founded it or someone around you that you like founded it. I get that. But the reality is we got to look at these events, and the ones that are working, replicate them. The ones that aren't, they don't need to be replicated. I said, I know that sounds crazy, but if it doesn't work, why are we doing it? If you're spending more money on the event than you're getting back on your investment and whatever you're trying to get from it, why are you doing it? Like that's been a huge question in nonprofits, huge question in for-profits. Why? Because for-profit companies, it's real simple. If it doesn't make money, it goes. Whether it's people, events, infrastructure, their job is to make cash. So if they're not making cash, that's got to go. And so our events kind of should be the same way. What do we want out of them? What is our goal? What are we trying to accomplish? And did it happen? If it happens, do it again. If it didn't happen, how can we make it happen? Or does the event need to change, and do we need to change with it? This is a major thing that we can always kind of work on. And again, there's several different ways that you can do that. You can learn about marketing. You can learn about the demographic. You can learn about where you're putting this. You can learn about your audience. So all these opportunities are there. Or you can partner with somebody that knows that. So if you're looking at, for example, Norman, Oklahoma, a great place to look at is the very channel you're watching. Why? Because you can look up Norman and living in Norman and watch and get a little gauge of what the culture's like here. So if you're bringing a new event that you've not been in the area, you can watch it, get a first glance, and then come and visit and then check it out and see what people are thinking, and you'll know what kind of a space you're walking into. If you're coming here, You need to know that there's going to be musicians and artists and creative people, and you're going to have some progressive thinkers, and all these things are going to be happening. And so you have to be aware of that. You also have to be aware that, what is the climate? Because if you're going to have a great event, are you going to try and have it in the springtime? Are you prepared for storms? Or in the wintertime, is it buckets of snow because you're in Minnesota? So where are you located and what does it mean? If it's summertime in Oklahoma in August, it could be 120 outside. So do you want your event, like a chocolate festival, to be in August? Probably not, unless you want a bunch of melted chocolate, right? So there's things like that we're always looking at in the ways that we're maneuvering and creating the plan that goes with it. Now, once you've created that plan, then you have to execute the plan. So once you've got that plan down, you have your checklist down, you have your roles assigned to the people that are doing the event, then you can execute the plan. Again, check the execution. Did it work or didn't it work? And then all the time, it will let you know whether it functioned or not. And if you're thinking, this is just too much work, like this is a lot, like why I'm not doing events. You just have convinced me never to do an event. Nope, that's not what I'm doing. What I'm trying to tell you is if that is too much for you, find an event planner. And I have none to recommend. Like I don't have anybody in my world. And so this is not me pitching on somebody else's stuff. I'm just telling you, if you need that, there are people that are event planners that this is what they do. If you have ever been married, you understand the value of somebody that can hopefully take care of some of that stress off of you. Because it is stressful to plan events, large events, small events, events in general. And then it's always like your baby, and you're trying to figure out whether people will go or not. And until they do, you get real nervous. And then you figure out, like, what do we do with it? So it is an amazing thing to look at events and what needs to happen. But always remember, ABC. It's always be changing. Always be changing either your marketing, or maybe it's a venue, maybe it's the way that you do things. Maybe you've done it the same way and it's not working the same. You have vendors that are happy. You have vendors, great, keep them coming back. If they're not happy, what can you do differently? How can you make it better? How can you make it a more successful event? Who can you partner with? Who can you bring in? Maybe you can combine events, or maybe two older events get together and create a super event. There's all kinds of ways that you can make that happen. Is it very much in line with what is currently happening? So for example, if you're doing a local food movement, it's huge right now. Local food is a huge thing. So if you're doing farm to table stuff, you're going to do well. Why? Because farm to table is really big right now. Now, the question becomes, the ticket price. Why? Because if you do farm to table, can people afford to go out and do a farm to table dinner on a regular basis? Don't know about that. So then you have to make it a special event that they're going to go out to because they don't have the expendable cash to do that every day. But can you make it a super event? Can you make it an exclusive event? Can you work with a winery? Can you work with a brewery? Can you work with food producers and have it on a farm in the community? Fantastic. Can you get some small businesses involved in your local community and work with them? Why? Because then it not only is a community event, it's a small business event. You're helping each other. You're creating economic ripple effects that will absolutely change your community by creating partnerships and relationships that you may need later on. Because guess what? If you can't get it from out of town, you can go down the street and say, can you print these shirts for me? Can you do these copies for me? Can you create this banner for me? Can you cater my dinner for me? And those are all people in your community that can do that. Can you do my floral arrangements? If you're a flower farm, I've got 2 flower farms just in mind right now that you can go and get flowers from. It's like, and that's only the 2 that I know. There's a whole bunch more if I need to check just within Norman, Oklahoma. What do you need? We have it available and we can get it to you pretty quickly because they're local merchants that are getting it done. So let's do it. Let's get all together. Let's create these events. Let's create new events, exciting events, or rebrand the events or refigure the events. And I'm saying this as we have 2 of the largest events in Norman in April. We've got the Medieval Fair that's been going on for a very long time. And I believe the Norman Music Festival, is it their 16th year? I want to say it's their 16th year. Because I believe it's like now they can get a driver's license. I think that's what I saw. I was like, in a couple years, it's going to be old enough to be able to vote. But ultimately, these are massive festivals, and they have innovated and created and done interesting things, and we're continuing to see that. So if you're excited about the Norman Music Festival, great. It's the end of April. If you're excited about the Medieval Fair, it is 1 week from Saturday. It's like the first week of April. So we are coming up in about 10, not even 10 days, maybe a week. Well, about 8 days. I said we have the Norman Medieval Fair is going to be here. And that is fantastic, an amazing event. People have a great time when they come down here. And they have a ball. Which the exciting thing about that, too, just for you, just to let you know, is I will be creating a playlist that is a medieval fair playlist. So it will be businesses in Norman that you can go to and hang out if you're coming here for the medieval fair. And then next week, as they start building the fair or they start putting it together, I'll hopefully get some footage so you guys can get excited about it coming up, the location, where it's located, things like that. And then after the medieval fair is done, that playlist will go away. Again, it's kind of like my spring break playlist. And then I will begin the build out for the Norman Music Festival, and I'll do a Norman Music Festival playlist where we can talk about downtown, Norman area, music venues, all the things. I'll put all that together in one space so that anybody that's coming for the Norman Music Festival will have their playlist, and I'll do that for probably 2 weeks prior to the event. The week of the event, I will also go ahead and film and be showing you the setup and all the things that are coming up. I've really enjoyed using these playlists, and so these playlists are built specifically for events, and they are for a short period of time. The way that you will know about all of that is to become a subscriber on the channel. You need to make sure you're subscribing so you have access to all of that, and I will have some lives that I probably will do specifically for my members. I think that's important, and so you'll have some exclusive content as well. So you guys, thank you. I hope that you remember, don't forget your ABCs. You remember when you're little, remember when you're older. When it comes to events, always be changing.